Okay, the image placeholders, not a lot to say there, but we'll talk about them anyway. So I'm gonna make a color here for us. I'm gonna go here to swatches, and I'm going to just make a new swatch. I'm gonna duplicate that swatch, and then I'm going to edit that swatch. And I'm gonna just bring this down so it's a kind of grayish gray, and we'll call this gray. And that will be my color for my boxes. So I'll just make a box. And this is going to be like a placeholder. And I'm following my grid. And that's basically it. I just copied those in different orders. What I didn't show you was the caption thing. So we'll do that. And really what this is, the grid's just trying to help you with some basic layout practice. You can do all sorts of different things within it, but the idea with the grid is that things stay kind of consistent across pages, so it looks like it's all part of the same document. Yeah, so I have this caption. I didn't do my nice little border thing with it. So I'm gonna first make it fit the guides, and then I'm going to say Control B, and I'm going to bump that down. So all that does is if I want to push that guy up there, I can know that's always going to be the same distance, right? So that's kind of nice. And yeah, I can kind of get inventive with my images and my captions. I can try different layouts and configurations. The one thing you'll need to kind of balance is, so we'll just leave those two. We'll go on to another page. I'll copy these. Now, and let me just put these on the right layer. So this is where it gets a little finicky. I can drag those to the images layer. But if I copy paste from one to the next, if I was to copy paste that guy, well, it's flipped to text by the time I did that. But if I copied a couple things, I'm just going to delete that. If I copied a couple things from different layers, then they would all paste onto the same layer when I pasted. So that gets a little confusing if you do that. What I was going to show you here is so these are just placeholders, the gray. So you just would put an image in there, and I'll show you that next. But yeah, if you're going to drag, I'm not going to drag that. I'm just going to copy. So I want to make another insertion there. What you're going to have to balance is how close you want to get your images and how off grid you want to go with them, but how close you want to get them to the caption. Right. So now the caption's not really set up with the gutter. So there's a little bit of invention to do there. Maybe I could have finessed that a bit for you all next year. So what I chose to do with the layouts that I was kind of just playing with, as you can see here, was I just kind of pushed everything up, and I just sort of fudged that little moment there. So do that to that. Yeah, you can kind of finesse that. And then this guy you can drag up, pop in there. That's fine. This is a little, not quite off the rails, but it's a little questionable what we're doing there. So if I want to evaluate that layout, how much do I like these? If I press, don't click on any, make sure you're not in anything, and you press W, and you can kind of evaluate it as if you don't have any of that gobbledygook in your way. this could be a lot better. I'm really just showing you how to push buttons for this exercise. But some things you can play around with is, do you align the text with the image? So this would be like what we might call a clothesline sort of maneuver, where you kind of have everything lined up along the top border. How much white space do you want to give between there and there? Do you could do like floating captions all the way down here. There's different kinds of ways you can play with the whole thing. And sometimes it's nice just to play with it with all the grids off and just get some ideas for yourself. And then come in and so with that, I just pressed Shift and pull that back. I don't know, do I want like small little images like that? Maybe that's okay. And if I hit W again, okay, I say, oh, okay, well, let's get these guys, let's get them on the grid, at least somehow, a little bit. Do I even do this? Does that help? I don't know. Oh, get over there. W, I mean, that's it's a little too much white space. It's a little too floaty. So, okay, now I just have to finagle a bit just to see what happens here if I do that. Because sometimes it's just trying to, that's a little better, trying to get the visual weight working well and then coming back in with your images. The one thing you can do too, I'll just show you, is you can like Shift Control, I can group these guys. So say I want to edit them together as a whole. So that's manipulating them like so. And again, if I hold the Shift, it'll keep their proportion as I go large and small with them. Whoops, I let go of that too quickly. Shift, hold down. Okay. The last thing I'll just show you is with one of the things I did there in the template that you might want to know is if I go to my paragraph styles, so I can duplicate that style. I'll just do it with one of them. I'll do it with the body, no, do it with the title. So I can duplicate style, and I'll just call this gray. Okay. And now what I can do is I can, I'll edit this to give it a different color. So I can go to character color, and I will assign the character color that gray. It's probably going to be a little light. Oh, I already did it. Okay, so I already assigned that paragraph, that one, so I can flip back and forth. Frankly, that's a little light, so I'll just be finicky here for a second. I'll duplicate that gray, double click that, double click the color. Let's make this 80. Enter. And I'll call it darker gray, or gray dark, dark gray, you pick. And I will now go back to paragraph style. I will, why do you have a little plus sign? The plus sign means that something's not, there's an instance of this doing its own thing. Let me just double click on this. I'll go to character color. I'm not going to worry about that plus sign for now. Say dark. Now it's dark. Oh, okay, maybe that was it. And voila. So there you are. That's the kind of basics of setting up that template. I don't know if there's any other questions you would have about it. I think the other stuff should be pretty self-explanatory about what was going on there. Again, these are just different options. And then I did, before we sign off, I will just show you the other file that I made. Let's see, yeah, good. I think I called it REST template. Yeah, I think it was this one that has like just a bunch of, not a bunch, but a few other different layout scenarios. I even have one here where, say I want to do what's called a full bleed image. Then I could go in and I could make all the text white so it shows up on it. The issue there is you gotta then mess with your footer master page situation. So, you know, there be dragons if you want to do that, but you can try it out. And then, yeah, just some other options. So this is kind of like your film strippy type thing, and that was kind of why I was showing you the grouping. So these are grouped, so I could manipulate them all together at once if I wanted. But yeah, so that should be good. And then I will show you next how to kind of like manipulate images and stuff in there with all the assets. We call them assets. That's the word, assets. The images and stuff that you have in your other files. With all the assets that you have, I'll show you how you manipulate those in this template file. Great.